Well, it looks like Mark Rowley's really surpassed himself this time. Just when you thought Mark Rowley couldn't get any worse, he's totally topped it. So not only has Mark Rowley failed to police the Hamas hate marches for the past 6-9 months, whatever it is now, since October 2023, allowing all sorts of anti-Semitism, all sorts of intimidation, all sorts of bullying and violence to take place week after week after week through central London, and failing to use the legislation he already has on the statute books to stop people calling for the destruction of Israel, stop people calling for the murder of Jewish people, stop people calling for terrorism and jihad on the streets of London. He's failed to do that monumentally, and has taken the path of least resistance, allowing people to ride roughshod over the freedoms that our forefathers gallantly fought for. And then when patriots take to the streets, he sends out the boot boys and the horses to batten them down and put the knee literally on the necks of patriots. That's what Mark Rowley's done. And of course, on the 1st of June, we had our mass demonstration, completely peaceful, completely non-threatening. Just a wonderful festival of what it means to be British, a festival of freedom, a celebration of freedom. And we're going to have another one on the 27th of July. You've got to be at it. But you see, before that demonstration took place, one of Rowley's sidekicks decided to send me and Tommy Robinson a letter. And the letter was quite menacing, saying there would be action taken against us if there was anything in the film that was made that was likely to incite hatred or violence, all the usual stuff. And they wanted to see the film before it was produced and before it was shown. Well, of course, we couldn't do that, and we wouldn't do that, because it would set a precedent that would never be changed. And every time you do anything in London, they'd be wanting to see scripts of speeches, they'd be wanting to, see what colour underwear you were wearing. So we refused to show them the film, and of course there was nothing in the film that's controversial. The day passed off completely peacefully, and to be fair to the officers on the ground and the officers that we were dealing with, everything went exactly to plan, a completely peaceful march, and we're hoping for exactly the same on the 27th of July. However, Mark Rowley can't help himself. So on a recent podcast, Mark Rowley has decided to take aim at freedom of speech, particularly when it comes to criticising religion. Now, if I start criticising a certain satanic death cult, under current laws, it's perfectly legitimate for me to do that. If I start criticising a satanic death cult that's inspiring people to carry out all sorts of heinous crimes and abuse against women, children, and innocent non-believers in the satanic death cult, I can do that till the cows come home. But I don't think Mark Rowley really wants that. I'm going to read what he said. Now, this should shock us, and this is the most astounding doublespeak I've ever heard. This is reported in the Daily Mail two days ago. This is what it says. So Mark Rowley, who leads the Metropolitan Police, said it was startling that people could stir hatred if they avoid being threatening or abusive. Now, I want you to think about that. How can you actually stir hatred without being threatening or abusive? So if you say that you're telling somebody something out of love because you're worried about their eternal soul, for example. If you're a Christian, you want to go and evangelize someone who's not a Christian, and you're saying that out of love, is that stirring hatred if you're criticizing the other religion? Is that what Mark Rowley's getting at? Because he's certainly not getting at the hatred that's been stirred up by the Hamas hate marchers, who've called for the total destruction of Israel with all that comes with that, which is the murder of millions of Jewish people. That's what from the river to the sea means. Doesn't mean anything else. It means from the Mediterranean River to the Jordan Sea, Palestine will be free of Jewish people. That's what they're calling for. And don't kid yourself and think they're calling for anything else. They're not calling for a two-state solution. The Hamas hate marchers are calling for a one-state solution. And that one state is a state that is completely cleansed of its current inhabitants. But Mark Rowley doesn't care about that when it's beamed onto the side of Big Ben. He's done nothing about it. No arrests, no charges, not for that chant anyway. There's been arrests for other chants, but not for that one. No arrests, as far as I know, from the people that were at the Hizbut Tahrir march and were actually saying that they wanted the armies of Islam to march on Israel. That wasn't hate speech. Apparently that jihad was in a struggle, according to Rowley's cretinous commanders. So the question has to be asked, who's he talking about here? Who's he talking about? These people that can stir up hatred by magic, even if they avoid being threatening or abusive. Well, I thought threatening and abusive language was hate speech, but obviously not. There's a new definition. Be very interesting to see what that is. Maybe it'll be something to do with Muslimness. I don't know. There's something in the Labour Party manifesto about that. There's something in the fact that the Labour Party has accepted the all-party definition of Islamophobia, which talks about it as a hatred of Muslimness, whatever that means, or criticism of Muslimness. Does that mean people wearing the burqa? Does that mean the Quran? Does that mean Muhammad? Does that mean the Hadith? Does that mean the history of Muhammad? Who knows? But the reality is Mark Rowley is lining us up for a sucker punch. There's only one thing that can happen here. We have to put pressure on whoever's in power to get rid of Mark Rowley. Because Mark Rowley is a danger to the people of London. He's a danger to free speech. He's a danger to his own officers. We, in our movement, are a peaceful movement. We're a peace-loving movement. We're a movement that has said over and over again, we want to bring all the people of the United Kingdom together, including moderate Muslims and Muslims that are either trying to leave the religion or do not want this extreme conservative literalist version of Islam that is being pushed by so many, being pushed upon them and their families. We want everybody to join our movement who believes in freedom, equality and democracy. We want everybody who believes in freedom of speech and freedom of religion to join our movement. We want the religious fascists pushed out of our movement. We don't want any of them in it. There aren't any. And we want the religious fascists pushed out of our country. We don't want religious extremists in this country. It's as simple as that. But Mr. Rowley seems to think that any critique of a certain satanic death cult could well be stirring up religious hatred, even if it's not abusive, even if it's not threatening. This is extremely Orwellian, and the reality of the situation is we've got to be ready for an extremely rough time when the Labour Party get into power. The Labour Party are an extremist party. The Labour Party are full of globalists, cultural Marxists and religious fanatics. And we must stand up against that. And we must fight for our rights. And the first fight in this battle is getting rid of Mark Rowley and his insane doublespeak. Remember, he called our march on the 1st of June extreme right. Of course, extremism gets him more money in the coffers. Extremism gets him more budget for the government to police the extreme right. Not the far right anymore, extreme right, whatever that means. When we know that extremism is something that this government's been pushing against, I'm sure the next government will do exactly the same. Except it won't be the real extremists, because they'll be allowed to go free. It'll be the genuine patriotic Brits that are standing for their future. And all I can say to anyone watching this video, please join us on the 27th of July. It's going to be a peaceful celebration of what it means to be British. We're going to look after the security and policing ourselves. We don't want massive interference from the state in what we're doing. We want a peaceful celebration of what it means to be British with every single patriotic Brit of whatever creed or colour at that demonstration. And we want to show them what it's like to really love the country and to really love each other as brothers and sisters in this great nation that we're going to celebrate. Anyway, I'll see you all soon. I just had to really, I think, just say, Mark Rowley, it's time to go. See you all soon.